Friends, it took me a month to write this speech. But because this is young India, I rehearsed it in front of my son and my daughter. And they said, Dad, this is a series of cliches. Don't waste the time of young India. So, I just like to say, friends, that I am addressing 50% of the population of India, which is 1.3 billion. The latest statistics say, and I take it all you students, and I'm really addressing you, are sitting at the back there. Soon you will be in the front, don't worry. Give it a couple of years and you'll be in the front seats. But what it is that 50% of the population today is under the age of 25. We are the youngest country in the world. Now, that means in an age of technocracy, we have got a fantastic advantage. And already, as the Prime Minister said last week, that we've got more startups than any other country in the world. But what I'm going to talk about is young India a slave of the past, or is it a catalyst of the future? Yesterday's India is full of doublespeak. The India I've come from, I'm ashamed to tell you, we believe in that bribery is bad. Anyone disagree with that? Bribery is bad? No one disagrees. Okay, good. But rishwat, rishwat, you know, a little bit of, a little money here, a little Mercedes-Benz there, that's okay. We hate nepotism. Nepotism is giving a job to a relative rather than someone of merit. We hate nepotism. But we are obliged to give it to an uncle's son. Not on merit, but because he is a blood relation of mine. And I had that when I was the head of Lintas, the biggest agency in India, ad agency. Every 2 weeks, someone would ring me up and say, Alek beta, mera beta to abhi pass ho gaya, to zara naukri dilao. So I would say, हाँ, ठीक है, CV भेजो. CV? CV का क्या जरूरत है? हाँ? He is your blood. Huh? Khandan ka hak hai that he should get a job. This is the India that I have come from. And I'm ashamed of it. I have to tell you the truth. I was in an argument with Anupam Kher on TV recently, where he said, you know, India is a very tolerant country, one of the most tolerant countries in the world. And I said, yes, Anupam, you are so right. I mean, I think so, you think so, but unfortunately, 200 million Dalits don't agree with us. 180 Muslims don't agree with us. So what are we going to do about it? They say we're not tolerant. We say, but they say no. How can we argue with them, yes? We have the utmost respect for our women. You can see it by the goddesses we have. We have so many goddesses. No other nation in the history of civilization has so many goddesses. Yes, the Greeks had a few, but we have multiple. And yet, women in our country who deserve the respect, as many earlier speakers have said, we still have things like dowry deaths, rape, wife beating. They did a survey about 10 years ago in Delhi, and it was amazing that college students said, wife beating, 40% of the college students said, wife beating is my haq. It is my right. And even worse than that was about 30% of the women polled said, yes, it is a husband's right to beat me. That we get married, we know that's what's coming. Now, is this a situation that we want to continue in our beloved country? It's a wonderful country. You just have to go around the country and meet people, and you know it's a wonderful country. But nevertheless, these wrongs have got to be curbed. And I can only think that tomorrow's India, not today's India, tomorrow's India, all of you out there are going to actually work to change this, not give speeches, you know. I said to a politician the other day, and he wrote it down. I said, Patil Saab, you told me you wanted a good slogan for your political party. So I'll give you one. And that is simple, it's only 4 words. Bhashan Band, Kaam Shuru. We talk. We are a talking nation. We are a talking nation. I think we have verbal diarrhea. Huh? It's very sad to say this is my country. Now, are you going to sweep away the rubbish? Not only through Swachh India, but through fresh ways of living up to the Indian Constitution, through deeds and not just words. It is one of the finest documents ever written. And I've been through all the country documents of their constitution. The Indian Constitution is the finest. But it's only good if we live up to it. So I say to you, you are all waiting for Innovation India. And that's wonderful. But you're talking about technological innovation, and I salute that. There are startups, all in technology. I haven't heard of one startup that talks about human values. And that is the pity of our education system. We very rarely teach human values. We're so interested in science and everything else, but as human beings, our interaction is never impacted by our schooling or our college. So, here I say to you, if you can innovate ideas in technology, why not innovate ideas that can replace bribery? Why not innovate ideas that can replace nepotism? Why not discrimination? Ideas that can change this, change India, so that we all are as equal citizens with equal opportunity. And all of you, I believe, thanks to Dr. Karad, have been given a copy of the preamble to the Indian Constitution. I'll come to it in a minute. You young students are on the threshold of life. Through fresh ideas and innovation in thinking and practices, India can be, hold my breath, reborn. Reborn in the India that great leaders like Vivekananda and others, Gandhiji, live up to those ideals, but most importantly, live up to the Constitution. Now, I'm going to say, yes, it's all very good, Mr. Valensi, you're talking a lot of gibberish, as my son said to me, and I saluted him. I'm going to tell you that there are things that can be done by individuals and groups. For instance, after the Bombay riots, which were very bloody, let me tell you, in 92, 93, I was on the Governor's Peace Commission, and we decided after the riots to mend the fragile interrelationship between Hindus, Muslims, and the police. We decided that why don't we have cricket matches? Because all the committee meetings that we had, nobody spoke to anybody. They all just looked down on the table, and whatever was put on the agenda, they didn't want to discuss, because they didn't want to talk to the people on the opposite side of the table. So it was suggested that we play cricket. But it was very interesting. I said, why don't we have the teams made up of, cricket is a game with 11 players, 4 Hindus, 4 Muslims, and 3 policemen. Let them play. And all the teams will have this composition. And you will not believe it, that after about 2 months of playing every Saturday and Sunday, people who refused to talk to each other because of the riots and because of the bitterness and the enmity began to address each other by their first names, I remember at a match that I saw, Suresh said, "Arey Abdul bhai, your googly is simply fantastic, fantastic." And he said, "Oh, thank you very much, Suresh bhai." And gradually, what was a tense situation, and I really mean tense, they began to relax. They began to discuss Mohalla problems and work on them together. Not as him and him and him, I don't talk to him, therefore I can't solve the problem, but saying, yes, Abdul bhai, why don't we sit down and talk about it? I think we can come to a conclusion. Team games turn former enemies into friends. Isn't it amazing? Such a human, simple thing. Think of the IPL. When Tendulkar is bowled out by an Australian, And then in IPL, when the Australian bowls out an Indian in the opposite team, Tendulkar embraces him and says, "Well done, fantastic." How's this? How can people, we hate the Australians, don't we? We've just recovered from a terrible thrashing, 4-1 in the 1 days. But I'm saying that we should be thinking, you should be thinking, I'm gone, bye-bye. This generation is not, I hope, a grumbling generation. Grumble, grumble, grumble. All I've done since school and college is grumble. This is not right. The municipality is no good. The BMC, which is the Bombay Municipal Corporation, should be renamed as the Big Mess Corporation, and funny things like that. But all of them very, very negative. This new India, all of you that are under 25, I think can become positive India. I think innovation India is not only in the technology areas, it is in the human interaction areas that you should be innovating. And that's very important. And youth has a great advantage. Great advantage, you say? What advantage? The advantage of not being like us. We are so cynical that the government will do nothing. They'll give promises, but they'll do nothing. You are still fresh to say, we will make the government do things. And I think Anna Hazare led young India, you know, when in Delhi, that Nirbhaya case, and also he led it when they had the thing about the Lok Adalat, right? Yeah. So they can be roused. You young people can be roused. We don't have to wait for gangs of gundas to smash cinema houses and say, we don't like this film, you don't take it off, we'll burn all your seats. We don't need that kind of India. It's time we gave that up. Recently, not so recently, Javed Anand, a friend of mine, and myself sat down and we were talking about how can we stop terrorism. This is on everyone's agenda, am I right? There is no one in this room, no one in any parliament anywhere in the world that says how can we stop terrorism? Or at least how can we separate the good Muslims from the bad Muslims? And I went to a mullah and I asked him, isn't it written in the Quran that if a Muslim kills a single innocent person, he has broken the word of the Quran? And the mullah said, yes. So I called a group of them together. I said, what happens to publicize this? How will you publicize it? They said, we don't know. I said, okay, I'm a communications expert, or supposed to be. Why don't you get your headman, the head of the Deoband Ulum, and tell him, would he pass a fatwa against those who break the Quranic law? And they were amazed. They said, you mean you want him to pass a fatwa? The Grand Mufti? I said, ask him. He can say no, he can say yes. They came back after 8 weeks, and they said, he has agreed. He is going to addressing a group of Muslims, a group, rather a weak word. He's going to 500,000 Muslims in the Ram Leela grounds on the 30th of May, 2008. And he is going to read out this fatwa, and he is going to ask every assembled Muslim there to read it out with him. In other words, it's no longer Islamic terrorism. It's terrorism by a renegade group, a group that's really broken away from the Holy Quran and is determined to, ISIS is the latest, determined to push their will onto, let's say, peace-loving Muslims. And somebody asked me, said, yes, Alex, this is all very good, but what advantage is there? The advantage is that young people, young Muslims, who may have been tempted to join ISIS, will suddenly say, but this is not an Islamic organization, because it kills innocent people. And the Quran says, if you kill innocent people, you have broken the law of the Quran. So people began to talk about it. What happened was, it didn't get the kind of publicity that today young India through the social media can get. And I'm going to ask the Grand Mufti of Deoband Ulum to repeat that, to gather an even larger crowd. This time have the full media, including the foreign media. And if young India backs this effort, I think the whole world will know that there are good Muslims and the others are non-Muslims. They practice terror, and terror is anti-Muslim, anti-Quran. So, this is something that was done by just a group of us. It was a good idea. It was an innovation. But it's lying around. All these innovations are lying around for you. This is young India's opportunity, opportunity to bring India back into the fold of human. Not riots, not terrorism, but in humanity. I spoke earlier about respect for women. And last year we did a sting operation in Bombay because disrespect for women starts with touching in crowds. It's called Eve teasing. It's nothing to do with teasing. It is disgusting, it is vulgar, it is horrible. And so we did a sting operation. And in that sting operation, if any of you want to talk to me about it after this, I'll be happy to give you my views. In the sting operation, we managed to catch 250 Eve teasers on the first week. And then we spoke to the media to publish their names, which is allowed, by the way. If you're an accused, you're allowed to publish the name and the address, so that it's called naming and shaming. As soon as you come home, your mother says, "Arey, Ali, क्या हुआ? टीवी पर आया आपका तस्वीर और आप क्या करी? बदमाश." और सब पड़ोसन बोलते हैं कि आपके बेटा के साथ हम बात भी नहीं करेंगे. Naming and shaming is a very powerful thing, and it's totally legal, let me tell you. It's a very, very simple operation. So, I say to you, young India, why don't you start a similar sting operation in any city or town that you live in where eve teasing or touching, molesting women has become a sign of grotesque insult to womanhood in general. And my last point is, thank you, there's a man here ready to take me away in handcuffs because I'm overstepping my time. The last thing is, Raksha Bandhan is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful festival. I prefer it to Diwali or even Holi. And because it talks about brotherhood. A woman, a girl, ties a Rakhi on her brother. He's not her brother, but he becomes her brother. What happens if in the next Raksha Bandhan day coming up, all of you, young India, decide that you are going to tie Rakhis, the girls and the boys, on all the people that you think are friends, they're not brothers, but turn them into brothers. Let this whole country know that we have a big heart. It's unfortunate that the GNP, Gross National Product, has been the center of attention. And I'm saying, in Scandinavian countries and even in Japan, they have a GNH, Gross National Happiness. Would we like our country to have a big GNH? Anyone? Yes? Okay. So let's go for GNH along with GNP. And it is with shame that I have to admit that my generation has failed. And this is your opportunity. As President Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you. Rather, ask. No one knows this slogan? Rather, ask what you can do for your country. And that's where we should be. Deeds, not bhashan. I said, bhashan ban, kaam shuru. And so I just say to you that, and another famous American, he said to his people, and I end with this, I have a dream. I have a dream that one day, now I'm going to paraphrase, I have a dream that one day young India will transform this great nation into a band of friends, a khandan of kindness, a parivar of equality that will live up to the ideals of the Constitution of India. And you all have a copy of the preamble. Please read it tonight and read it with meaning so that you become imbued with the new spirit, which is New India. Jai Hind, Jai Humanity.
बहुत शुक्रिया, thanks very much. So gross national happiness, ये नारा बुलंद होना चाहिए. बहुत धन्यवाद. और नेमिंग और